Hello, Get Checkered fam. I wanted to add this note in before the episode gets rolling here because I think it's just really important. I can't speak for Caitlin and Courtney or Nicole, who's written for us and listens to our episode. But I can honestly say that the news from the United States regarding Roe v. Wade is truly horrific. When I found out, I burst into tears because I just couldn't believe that there is a second class of citizen now. And I know that there has been, and we can talk about that for sure. But it's just, we knew it was coming, but it's still been so horrifying. And I want you to know that you can tweet us how sad you are, how upset you are, and where you're at. And that's okay, because I think it's important that you feel all those things. In all of our episodes going forward, we're going to add a link to our site that has a ton of resources that you can go to figure out how you can support people just to continue to make the best choice for them. As a community, just know that we are standing in solidarity with you. I know we're across the border and that might feel like we're so far apart. But when it comes to things like this, when it comes to equality, equity, justice, and doing what's right, we are firmly in your corner, and we're going to do what we can with the small platform that we can to make sure that we're fighting for what's right. Anyways, enjoy the episode. We hope that for 30 minutes or however long you listen, you can just escape for a second, and then continue on fighting the good fight. We love you. We're in your corner, and we will find ways to support you. Okay, hello friends. It's Janica, Caitlin, and Courtney from Get Checkered. Get Checkered is part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown and community supported. It's been a while since all three of us have been in the same virtual space.
Yeah.
How is everyone doing?
Another week, another hangover. Truly, I think I'm on day 2 of a hangover too. So
oh no,
it is what it is. I do it to myself. It's been a beautiful weekend in Vancouver, like beautiful, and so it's really nice today. So I'll be sleeping everything off on a beach, wearing SPF 60 so I don't burn. That's
nice.
That doesn't sound like the worst idea.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm good. I'm coming down from a month high of living my best life. So being home is a bit of a bummer, but I'm happy to be like in my bed, not different Airbnbs. How are you?
And honestly, like same old. I am very much looking forward to next week on Wednesday. I'm flying out to see Caitlin, finally, good God. So I go to Vancouver, and then after that, it's just a lot of traveling. So Courtney, if we can convince you, Caitlin will also be in town for the first week of Stampede. Not that we're saying you need to come, but we're just and that's a one weekend I'll be here for before I have to fly out to Montreal. So something to consider.
Stampede's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, maybe. Let me check.
So we figured today we'd like keep it fairly easy and basically interrogate Courtney about her time in Montreal, because she was there, I was not there, and Caitlin was not there. So
yeah, it was a jam-packed 4 days. Let me tell you that.
Okay, so yeah, tell us like the experience, like what happened. Like you got into Montreal probably the day before free practice, right? And then you went right to the circuit to watch.
So I got into Montreal Wednesday night because Thursday morning from 9 till noon, you could do a pit lane walk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so my friend and her mom were coming to watch the race as well. So they got in Thursday. They were hoping to come to the pit lane walk, but weather didn't permit them to enter. So I'm making my way by myself. I go to Montreal like often. So
yeah,
I'm very good at like navigating metro and kind of fending for myself, which was nice. So I got to the circuit at like 8:15. It opened at 9, and the lineup was beyond. Like, people said that they got there at 6:30 in the morning and started lining up. So
oh my God.
yeah, so that was crazy. The line, once it got moving though, at like once 9 o'clock hit, everyone kind of got in. So you get into the circuit and you take a bus to the pit lane, but this bus is just driving down the track. So it was pretty cool to look out and see everything, all like the barriers set up, the DRS signs. I was like,
Nice. I'm a driver now.
yeah, it's like, can we take this bus up to like 200 kilometers? Let's just see what it feels like. So at this point, it was kind of like spitting rain on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, nothing is stopping me now. I'm here. So you get off this bus and you walk down the pit lane. So you see the huge LED sign that says like F1, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, this is real. And then you see every garage, the doors are open. You hear the machine, like the wheel guns blasting, people putting together the cars, and
Wow.
it was so fun. So I'm walking down and you walk past every garage, and of course there were huge crowds at Ferrari and Mercedes. And as you start to walk down, the crowds slowly decrease. So I think there's like 4 people like looking in the Haas garage, and I was like, I'll stay here for like a couple minutes. So you walk down and it's cool. You see all the engineers piecing together the cars. There's pieces of the cars kind of like out on display, like some of the front wings, I guess for people's entertainment because they're there. And then I heard this commotion down back to like the popular end, and I was like, what is that? Well, I need to see. And I heard people chanting, and I was like, if that chant is Daniel, I'm gonna faint. So I'm sprinting. Good thing I'm like 5'2" and like bob and weave crowds. Yeah, I was sprinting back down. Not sprinting, but when you're like power walking with a mission.
Yeah.
So I get to the McLaren garage and people are like, oh, Daniel's in there, Daniel's in there. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sticking around. Like, I'm staying here. So I'm there waiting, like blah, blah, blah. I'm watching everyone like put together the cars. It was so cool to see. And then I see Lando's like performance engineer and stuff come out of the pit. And I was like, okay, interesting. And then I hear the screams and Lando comes out from behind whatever, like when they go back to kind of the hospitality thing. I see him with his hood like up because it started to rain at that point, and he was sitting at his car just eating like carrots and hummus. And I was like, get yourself together. This is the moment. Like, don't embarrass yourself. So I'm like standing at like the front of the gate, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God. But he's just standing there, like he didn't come out. Mm-hmm. And then I see the iPad come out of them about to go do the pit walk or the track walk. And I was like, oh my God. And I see him grab an umbrella, and I was like, oh my God, like contain yourself. Like, don't be an idiot. So I'm like, okay, like you've got this. And I start to get my phone ready. I'm like, I'm just going to take a little pic. Do I think he's going to come right under the barrier that's right in front of me? No, but he does. And this is how close I was.
So with that photo, he was right in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can share like the longer video. I took a video, it's 28 seconds, but I can cut it down on our Instagram because like my knees were like, what is happening to me? And he walked by and I was like a little starstruck. So that was fun. And he went to go do his track walk. But at that point it started to rain heavy. So my friend texted me like, they're not even letting us on the metro because the circuit's shut down. So
Oh, wow.
so that sucked for her. Her and her mom are huge Lewis Hamilton fans. And I was like, I'll take a picture of what I can.
No.
So yeah, so that was fun. And then as I kind of caught my breath, I was like, okay, I should probably head out. It's been like an hour and a half now. There was like a lot to see, but also not much to see because everything's just being put together. At this point, there were so many people, and that's when the disadvantage of being 5'2" came out, because everyone in Montreal is apparently 6'8". So I was like trying to look through like the armholes of tall people. I was like, what is that? So as I was walking to the bus to get back to, like, you finish the track and go back to the entry, Sebastian Vettel just finished his track walk. So I got to see him, which was crazy. Like, he is so tiny. Like, I knew he was small, but he's like so small. I was like, oh my gosh, like, you're itty bitty. That was Thursday. And it took me a while to just like wrap my head around, like, I'm here. Like, this is happening. Yeah. Right. So that's Thursday. And then Friday was free practice 1 and 2. And it was like a beautiful day up until the end of free practice 2. But the sounds of those cars is a beautiful thing. So we were sitting in grandstand 34, and it was right at turn 9. So we had a view of everyone coming down like the back straight, coming into our little S curve, and then picking up speed again, which was like, I think we had a great spot because you could see how fast they're coming, but then hearing the car like change gears to slow down, but they're riding the curbs. It was crazy. So free practice 1 and 2 we watched, and it started to rain towards the end of free practice 2, and it was kind of cool to see how then they have to handle a car once it's not wet but it's spitting, and things are changing on the track. And so it was fun, and just like seeing them rip around and seeing on the straight where they were coming up to turn 9, seeing people like slow down to pass, and then how fast they can pick up speed again. So it was crazy. And then Saturday was free practice 3 and qualifying. We didn't go to free practice 3 because it was pouring. And we were like, we'll go to qualifying, but like free practice, we're fine to miss that, whatever. So I went with my friend who was kind of like, oh, I'm just here for you and my mom. Like, I'm not a huge F1 fan, but I came for the weekend. So I took that time. I was like, oh, absolutely not. If you're going to this race, you're getting a quiz. So I put together a Quizlet of like 30 questions. I gave her a lesson and then a pop quiz, a knowledge check.
Nice.
So we spent the morning, I was quizzing Chelsea. I was like, this is the teams. These are the drivers. Remember this. And then I'm like, I would do like picture, and then the question would be like, who am I? Bonus point, what number am I?
Oh.
Oh yeah. It was so good. And she like did so good. We were putting together rhymes to remember like numbers. Like for Yuki Tsunoda, I was like, I don't know about you, Gi 20.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's great.
Right?
Yeah.
And then for Alex Albon, there's like an F1, like the Rookie of the Year video where he does a rap, and he goes, on to me, Alex Albon, number 23. So then she goes, on to me, Alex Albon 23. And she's putting it all together. Oh my God, it was so funny. So adding like professor to my resume.
Obviously.
So heading to qualifying, it was rainy. So we came prepared with our coats and our little ponchos. And that was fun. Because in free practice, like, you see that they're testing the limits and putting the cars on these curbs and seeing how, like, what where they're gonna like really try and peak. But when it's like a full wet track,
Yeah.
like it was wild. And watching them like turn, but then have to like catch it because the back end is spinning out. It was, and the spray, it was so crazy. And at this point, my friend Chelsea was like, I'm into it. So then cars would go by and she'd be like, 63, George Russell. And I'm like, yeah. So yeah, that was wild. And definitely pack a raincoat for unexpected weather, because the Friday it said it was going to rain, but it said it was going to spit, and we got absolutely poured on. So Saturday we came out with all the stops. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to have umbrellas in the stands, or does that block other people's view?
Yeah. So in the grandstands, the guy in front of us had an umbrella when we got there.
Mm-hmm.
And once we took our seat, security came up to him and said, you have to put that down. You can't block people's views.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was nice that the security was so they were paying so much attention to people around everyone to make sure that everyone could see. At one point there were people kind of just in front of us, and there was like a tall man and then a young girl behind him, and security was like, maybe you can switch seats because she can't see a thing. So
wow.
Yeah, security was great. Everyone and people were so nice. I think everyone was just so excited that the Grand Prix was back in Canada, and like the energy was immaculate. It was like everyone was thriving off of each other even before cars started to go around. So that was fun. And then come Sunday, race day. Oh my God. Like the streets of Montreal are packed. Obviously, like the transit's packed. Even people that don't have tickets are like, I'm just going to the island for the vibes. Yeah. So, it was so good. Like coming out on that first lap, you see all the cars in line, like it was so good. And we didn't see any overtakes in our section. But so we were at turn 9, and that's where Checo pulled off.
Yeah.
His car was there. And I didn't realize, I thought, and like thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, obviously it's like, how would they do that? But they took his car off of the track and just put it in front of all of our grandstands until the race was done. So it was just sitting there. And then Mick Schumacher's car broke down in the same spot, and they just took it off to the side and just put it there. So if I went to the bottom of our grandstands, like I would have just been able to see the cars. And yeah, and they're so loud, and they're so like intricate. Even just seeing them like pick them up off the track to like bring them away, I was like, man, that's like a piece of machinery, like huge and crazy. And the cockpit is so small. Like you really see them like push themselves up with their arms so close to each other.
Yeah.
The claustrophobia could never, but good for them. And then the safety car came out when Sonoda went off. So it was again cool to see everyone slow down and like taking the corners a bit slower. And at this point, poor Lando had the worst box of his life. So I saw him get lapped a couple times by Max and Carlos and then Lewis, and I was like, oh, poor guy. So I was like, okay, maybe the safety car, once they could like unlap themselves or whatever, I saw him like be in order again, and I was like, okay, he can get out of P15, like maybe he can make it up a little bit. I mean, that didn't happen, but it was nice to see just how like quickly things can change for the good and the bad in terms of someone's being lapped by the top 5. and now they have a chance to regain themselves. Or you see someone getting lapped by the top 5 and you're like, come on.
Not great.
Yeah. So yeah, it was crazy, like the whole race. Luckily our grandstand had a screen on the other side of the track, so we could kind of see what was going on throughout the whole race. I know there's some spots that don't have screens, so it's very much you sit there and wait for like, and then you wait a minute 17 for Max to so it was lucky we had a screen there so we could kind of keep an eye on what was going on, because when Yuki went off there was a bit of a stall, like a bit of a delay, so we were like, no one's came by here in a little bit, right? So that was fun. But like seeing that Red Bull live in action, it is so fast.
Yeah.
Like so fast. Like Max would be coming down the straight and going into like the second part of like the S curve, and Carlos is just coming down the straight, and I'm like how is like that even possible? Like it was so crazy. But then to see Carlos catch up and they're within a second of each other kind of the whole last couple laps, they're so close, and you see like the back and forth, the give and take, and with the safety car you can see Carlos was just like praying, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be good, so yeah, it was a crazy experience. Seeing like Lewis get his first like podium of the season was definitely nice to see. I didn't realize that you could just, once the race was over, literally once the cars pulled in, everyone in the grandstands runs onto the track because they're trying to make it to the podium. And I was like, I thought you had to have a different pass for that. So people are like sprinting. I've never seen people run so fast in their lives down the track. Mind you, we're at turn 9, so they had a little bit to run.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but like they're just running down to the podium and to see the champagne and that whole performance. So the weekend was unmatched. I am like still coming down from a high. Like I'm still like going back on my videos like, look at them. So it was crazy. The sounds of those cars is like riveting. We sat at we left our grandstand seats and sat at a fence for one of the free practices, which you get like a bit of a closer view. And I guess that's just a general admission ticket. And it was wild. Like you blink and you miss them. Yeah, I know. So it was so much fun. The energy is so crazy. And then after the race, when they're doing kind of a cool down lap, so my friend and her mom are huge Lewis fans. Obviously I was cheering on Mr. Lando Norris. So they're doing their cool down lap, kind of like waving to everyone, and Lewis pulls off like into where Schumacher and Perez kind of came off, and he's waving. He's like so close to like the fence. Chelsea and her mom were like, oh. I was like, oh yeah, that's cool, whatever. And then Lando comes and I'm like, he does the same thing. He pulls off and like comes close to the fence, and I was like, do you think he saw me?
Does he remember me from Thursday?
Yeah, did we have a connection or something? So like overall the weekend was wild in terms of the race, but Montreal as a whole on Grand Prix weekends is like taken to another level. So all of Old Port, Montreal is kind of where I think a lot of teams had events. So I know Red Bull had like a Red Bull party there. I don't know what building it was in, but I remember seeing Red Bull illuminated on a wall, and I was like, I think I'm gonna get in there.
How do you get in?
And then I know that the Holt Renfrew and like Ogilvy had a Williams event, so those drivers kind of were there on Wednesday, I think, or Thursday. So the whole city as a whole is just like so lively. And then Saturday night after qualifying, Chelsea and I were just like, we're going to stay downtown because we stayed in Laval. So it was like a 20-minute drive out of the city. And her mom just didn't realize where the hotel was. She didn't realize that Laval was not like downtown. So, but it was kind of nice to get away from the hecticness at points. So we stayed downtown for dinner after qualifying, and we're like walking around. And then I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw that someone tagged George Russell at the Ritz on Sherbrooke. And Chelsea goes, do you think Lewis is there? Do you think he's staying there? And I'm like, maybe. So we're like, okay, we'll walk by. We're not going to like be those people that stand outside of the hotel, right?
Yeah.
Like we'll walk by, see what the vibe is and whatever. So we're walking and we see the crowds of people and we're like, yeah, we're approaching. We're there for maybe like 2 minutes. We were just talking to someone. This girl was like, oh, we saw Alex and Latifi. And we were like, really? Like we actually did. And they're showing us all these pictures. And as we're talking, Chelsea goes, oh my God, that's such a sick car. And I look over and a red Ferrari pulls up and I was like, what's happening? And she's like, I'm gonna send my mom, like, that's such a cool car, taking a picture. And I was like, no, like maybe start recording. Because then I see Carlos's manager get out of the car and I was like, Chelsea, it's happening. Chelsea, it's happening. So we're like, oh my God. And in her video, you can hear me say, that's his manager. That's his man. Chelsea, that's his manager. And then you see him like reach in the back and get his Ferrari coat. And I was like, it's coming, like it's coming. So then Carlos gets out of the car and I'm like, what a beautiful man. Like everything about him, his strut, like he was just so suave. I was like, yeah, this is happening. Like this is real life. So my friend Chelsea kind of like pushes me to get in front of the crowd of people. And I'm like, oh my God, like so close to him. I was like, how is this real life? So she's recording. I'm like, can we take a picture? And he looks at me and has a pen in his hand and I'm wearing a Lando hat.
Yeah. And
he grabs my brim and puts it down and then signs my hat. And I was like,
oh,
okay, but can we still get a picture? I was like, oh, okay. Like I have your signature, but I'm like, now I need to get Lando's on this and have like a Carlando
reunion. Yeah. On your hat.
Yeah. So he, like is looking, we got a picture, just kind of like a selfie, and he's looking like straight in the camera, and Chelsea and I were like, ah! So it's like he's like staring into your soul when you like look at the picture. So after that, as this is happening, Chelsea's like, we're not going anywhere, like we're staying right here. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like 11:30 p.m. I'm usually in bed by like 9. I'm like, okay, we'll wait. So we're waiting, and then we heard someone else say like, oh, Charles and Pierre a block over, they're stuck in traffic. Like these people just like saw the white Ferrari and like got pictures while they're literally in gridlock traffic. So we were like, okay, the metro to get back to Barrie UQAM is that way. That's where they're spotted. Like we'll go walk down and like head home. Basically, if we see them, we see them. If we don't, we don't. So we're walking down and we walk past the Four Seasons and there's these huge crowds of people and people like at the door screaming. And we were like, we just missed them, I bet. And we see the valet like going to park Charles's white Ferrari. And we were like, oh, like we were so close that we're like, we were a little mad. But then it was also almost midnight and we were like, okay, so we're going to go back to bed now. So like it was so fun that like the energy in the whole city is just radiating. Yeah, it was wild. Like the whole weekend was wild.
You have so many stories. I love it. Like so much happened in one weekend for you.
Oh yeah, like I think I'm still coming down from the high of that weekend. It was so crazy. Like I never would have thought I would see Lando and Carlos. The love of my life.
It was meant to happen, Courtney.
I know. So then when Carlos was chasing down Max, we were like, channel the energy we had last night. So yeah, it was crazy. And there was everywhere we went, we saw like a little chili pepper, and I was like, this is a sign from Carlos. Like we went to dinner after qualifying, and there was this little pop-up booth on Saint Laurent, and you could get like a little temporary tattoo, and one of the options was a chili pepper. And then we went to dinner, and there was little chili peppers by like the food that's hot.
Yeah.
And then we were walking downtown, and someone had a chili pepper on his hat, but it had nothing to do with F1. And then we saw someone with a Chili's hat, like the restaurant in the States, and we were like, this is weird. So when the red Ferrari pulled up and it was Carlos, I was like, there were signs from above. So now like flying home, like we've been seeing little Chili's everywhere. Like Chelsea was watching a YouTube vlog, and this vlogger pulled up a shirt and it had a chili on it. And on my flight home, I was playing the hidden object game on the tablet on the plane. And the first thing was like, find the chili. And I was like, what is happening? So I'm manifesting this chili energy for something, building it up for next year, maybe. Who knows?
Who knows? I want to know. So how crowded was it and how busy was it? Because there was like 300,000 people, I think, according to the commentators.
Yeah, it was busy. Like the subways, you're packed in like sardines. You're waiting in the metro, and you see 4 trains go by just loading people in, and you're like, I'll get on the next one. Oh no, I won't. I'll get on the next one. Oh no, I won't. God. Yeah, and it was kind of unsettling in a way, just because you're packed up like this, right? Yeah. And not a lot of people are wearing masks. So it's the first big thing after COVID. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm kind of claustrophobic, but yeah, it was crazy. But again, grandstands, once it came to free practice, they weren't really checking tickets for the seats. It wasn't super busy. I feel like they were keeping count of like tickets being scanned. So there were some people from general admission that when we went to go sit, they're like, we were like, I think maybe scooch down. Like, I think you're the next seats over. And they're like, oh no, we're general admission. Like we just came to like pop in. But come qualifying in the race, they were like checking your tickets and making sure you're in the right seats. So it was super busy, but again, security and all the volunteers and stuff were very good at making sure everyone was organized and had the best time. The grounds were so busy. Like the fan zone was wild. So many people. And they had in the fan zone, they had these like cool little events. It was like a pit stop tester. So you're like, you have the little gun and they're timing you. There's reaction test games. There's the display 2022 car there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was busy. It was crazy. Like I went, it's on the same island that Osheaga is held at. And that was busy, but this was busy. So, and reservations, you can get a reservation at a restaurant. Yeah. No, especially in like the downtown and Old Port.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck. We tried to make reservations and we were like, maybe we'll just show up. Yeah. So yeah, if you're fine, like we were like, we're not really planning on doing like a fancy, like sit down, fancy dinner. Because we were like, good luck with getting reservations. So we just kind of did dinner and then would walk around and like go to a cafe maybe and in those busier spots. But yeah, it was busy and like, yeah, unsettling after like because it's been so long since you've been in a crowd after COVID. But I'm surprised. I mean, maybe this is me just being in Ontario and having everything being vaccine checked, but there was no like vaccine checks anywhere.
That's interesting. That actually might be why. So one of my coworkers went, and she is very sick and has been since she got back. So that might be why. Yeah, like very, very ill. She bopped onto a work call for a little bit, and her voice was like not well. I was like, oh, that's not great. Don't worry, she hasn't been in. She's just stayed at home. But
well, yeah, people, when I got back to work, people are like, do you have monkeypox? And I'm like, I'm like, so yeah, it was crazy busy.
So I'm assuming you're gonna want to go back, right? For sure. What are your like what would you do differently? Do you have any recommendations?
I want to know.
People going.
Yeah. What if when I go back next year, I think I'm only gonna buy a Sunday ticket because I've done, or maybe like a Saturday, Sunday, because I've done the free practice. Like it's cool to see the cars, but it's also like if you can do so much in Montreal and walk around Old Port and stuff. But if it's your first time going, I would do the 3 days just so you can have that experience. There's all the booths of merch and games and stuff. So for my next time I would go, I would just do like qualifying in the race. Things to bring. We were like rookies and we're like, oh, whatever, we'll see everything. Obviously not. There were people in our grandstands that had little binoculars.
Nice. Yes.
And I was like, that's actually smart. Like this girl had her phone through the binocular lens and was like, you could see their helmets like so close. And I was like, yeah, I want that. I want to see them come down the street like,
nice.
Yeah, so that's a good call. In the grandstands, it's just like bleachers, like at a high school football game. A lot of people had like cushioned seats that had a back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were leaning.
Okay.
Yeah, because after a while sitting on those bleachers, I'm like,
yeah.
I like, this is so bad. I'm like constantly like rolling my shoulders back, and now when I do that, it just happened. I'm rolling my shoulders back, and my chest is cracking because I'm so tight in here from sitting like this all weekend. But you're also kind of sitting like watching everything and being like, wow, when things happen. So bring a cushion, even if it doesn't have a back, because your butt goes numb on those bleachers. Bring like a poncho in case it rains, because you don't really want to miss out on seeing a rainy track, because it's cool to see everyone handle the car differently in the rain and seeing how the traction is on the different cars. And even on a dry track, like watching the progression of speed while they're warming up their tires, and then once their tires are good, them actually taking the track. And in qualifying, it was cool, you could see the line of dry track of the driving line where everyone is coming. So that was cool, and it was kind of interesting to see everyone ripping around in the wet. Sunscreen. Plus, my heart was bright red after Sunday. No. Yeah. And so I bought my Lando hat on Saturday when we were there for qualifying. Saturday night, Carlos signed it. And I was like, I can't wear this.
Can't wash it ever now.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I sweat, gone. If it rains, gone. Someone thieves it off my head, gone. So bring sunglasses, because I did not. And I had to take a pair from my friend. Yeah. So sunglasses, a hat, an extra hat in case you meet someone.
They sign your hat. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a poncho again for if it rains. You don't necessarily, because it was humid.
Oh, interesting.
Humid and rainy. So my freaking poncho at one point was like steamy because I was so hot in it, but it was pouring rain and I was like, this is not it. But then I like assessed my surrounding. I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's nice you can bring food into the track, so because the vendors are expensive. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna
you're
ask about that.
Yeah, get ready to pay like $15 for like a small poutine. So you can bring food. A lot of people had coolers.
Oh,
So I think we'll definitely do that next year. And
Wait,
even if it's
wait. Coolers with food and booze, or just like coolers with food?
just food. Just food. Yeah. You can like they're selling alcohol there and people were living their life. Let me tell you, excited that the race is back. But yeah, save money. You can bring food in. Yeah, those are kind of my what to do next year. Bring a seat, a cushion, little binoculars, a hat, sunscreen, food to save money, a Tide to go stick.
oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. If you wear white, you're bring a Tide to go stick. Lip balm with sunscreen because the reflection off of the grandstands.
Oh, fair.
Oh,
Fair.
fair.
Yep. A pen. I didn't have, like, thank God when we saw Carlos, someone had a marker because I didn't. And I was like, no one's even gonna believe me. Got it. Yeah, those are my top. I have it on my list.
Nice. Okay. That's a lot of stuff to remember.
Would
Yeah.
you stay in Laval again, or would you try to be a bit closer?
No, I would definitely stay closer. So I got there Wednesday night and I stayed by myself. I stayed in a hostel. And it was right downtown and it was perfect. So definitely would stay downtown just to avoid, because traffic getting into Montreal at any given time is crazy, but on like an event weekend. So definitely stay downtown, whether it's like a hotel or an Airbnb. Yeah, because there's just so much to do, and then you don't have to worry about making sure you catch the last metro or the last bus, or you're like, oh, I still have to drive half an hour, like we should probably go soon. And even like if you want to go out for dinner and have like a glass of wine or something, you don't really have to worry about I can't do that because I'm driving or stuff like that. So I would definitely stay more central.
And it seems like finessing your way into one of these parties would also be on the list.
Yeah. I'm gonna be searching on LinkedIn for some connection.
Yes.
How I can set this up for next year.
And you have to start looking like now.
Oh yeah.
Right? Give yourself as much time as possible.
Yeah. So I was emailing about being able to volunteer at the race. And the guy emailed me back and was like, we have your name down for next year as someone to contact. They're like, we have a list of like veteran volunteers and we're going to go with them because it's kind of the first year back and they kind of already know what the game plan is, what to do and where everything is. So they're like, just to keep things smooth this year, we're going to stick with our list, but they have my name to volunteer next year. So I might not necessarily have to buy a ticket next year.
Nice.
Might be working for free, but that's fine. The opportunities that can arise from that will be exciting.
And honestly, there might be like a lot of extra perks for volunteers that we don't know about because we haven't done it yet.
Yeah, this girl I follow on Instagram was a volunteer in 2019, like 2018, 19, and then this year. And all of her stories, I was like, how? Like, is that really it? You got to see everyone. Like, they basically get to walk down like the hospitality kind of lane where everyone's coming in and out of their buses and everything. And I was like, and she got to stand like watch free practice and stuff close to the barriers almost. And I'm like, wow, you don't have a fence in your way. That's pretty cool. And you're so close to the cars. And I'm like, okay. Also earplugs. Ooh. If you have sensitive ears. Fair. It's a good tip. A lot of people had them, and we were like, yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, so she had all access passes in the paddock, and I was like, yeah, I need to do that next year. I need to get on that now.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So next year, I'm definitely gonna go to that race again. My friend and her mom are from South Africa, so when they announced that circuit might be back, we're gonna see if we can go to that race as well, which it'd be so fun to go to like an international race.
Yeah, which I think is what Caitlin and I have always been thinking, which is why it was so funny when Montreal was back on and everyone was asking her and I, like, are you going? And I was like, no, we thought we were going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I know. I'm so sad I didn't go while I was in Barcelona, because the race was that weekend. I mean, we flew to Seville on the Saturday, so we weren't technically there for the race anyway, but I would have extended a day if I knew. Because yeah, seeing a race in Europe would be, I feel like wild.
I wanted to ask, so when the podium thing happened, you saw those people running. Did you kind of hover over there too? And what happened after that? Because all we see is like, okay, they celebrate, it's over, and then we just see the interviews. But like, what happens?
So we didn't run over there because I didn't know where they were going. I was like, what are these people doing?
Fair enough.
And then plus we were watching like the podium celebrations on the screen in front of us. Because again, the people I was with love Lewis, and they were like, oh, we want to see his like little
Lewis,
speech afterwards. So we stood there and watched it. But once the podium stuff was done and they go into like the press interviews and stuff, they open up the track. So we walked the track afterwards, and it was pretty cool. Like the track was so hot.
Oh, wow.
Through my little like sneakers, I was like, ooh, it's a little toasty. But yeah, I think as soon as that happens, like one of my friend's friend was there and watched all the cars come from Parc Fermé into the garages. Like they just pushed them in. But after that, like in Montreal, a lot of drivers right after interviews were gone because they have 2 weeks, they have a weekend off, and the next race is a lot of home races, whether it's for the drivers or the teams. Like the race ended at like 3:40 or something. Lando was in New York City by 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I don't really know a lot of what happened afterwards, but they open up the track for oh my god, this might be it might be happening. Like you can walk the track, which is pretty cool. I'll have to report back on what happens during a podium thing, because I'm either going to sprint there next year or I'll be behind the scenes. But you can sprint to the podium, apparently. Didn't know that. So if you're going, do it. See how close you can get. I mean, you're not going to get that close because all the teams run out there too, right? But it'd be cool to see.
It seems like the play is going like a little bit earlier, like trying to finesse your way into the parties, or like seeing where the drivers are staying or whatever, so you can like sneaky get an autograph or a photo.
Yeah.
But then as soon as the race is over, it's kind of like they're gone. You should probably go to.
Yeah, like a lot of, like I was just like on Instagram, and a lot of their stories were on a plane or already somewhere else. So I wonder if it was because there's no race this weekend, and they have like kind of 2 weeks, give or so, to relax and do their own thing before Silverstone, which is one of the biggest races on the calendar. But yeah, get there. Like I think next year we're gonna get there Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
And have like a couple days, even if it's just to kind of like scope out where things might be being set up.
Yeah.
For parties and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. And next year we're gonna book brunch at the or breakfast at the Ritz.
Oh, nice.
Because people like were just booking dinner reservations and they're able to go in, and we were like, the opportunities in there. Because that's what we saw. We saw on Instagram someone tagged George Russell in a photo, and they were just like in the dining room, and the caption was like, lucky day to book dinner at the Ritz or something. And I was like, that needs to be me. Yeah, I know. So like scope out even like bougie restaurants that I'm sure they all went to.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Wild weekend. And I wish I brought a disposable camera. I love disposable cameras, and I wish I had one this weekend. But oh well.
Next year.
Yeah, next year.
All things for next year.
You know. So, do you think you guys will go to any races next year?
I'm still in to do the Mexican GP, Shanika.
Yeah, I know. We were actually talking about this last week, I think. Maybe doing Mexico, because it's like you can also take like a bit of vacation on it.
Yeah.
We can like, not that you need a reason to celebrate to travel, but there's like, it's close enough to like birthdays where it's like, we can like say it's a birthday trip, why not? So definitely thinking about it / very open to seeing what that would look like. But yeah, I don't know. I would love to just not work for a year and follow Formula One around for a year. I mean, I think we'd get very sick, but I mean, I would. That's just me speaking for me. Sleeping different hours every single weekend, not for me. But yeah, we're looking at Mexico right now as a potential
that would be so fun.
Opportunity to go see something, but also the Vegas race next year.
Yes,
is one that I'm like trying to figure out, how does that happen in our lives? Just because it's a night race, right?
Yeah.
And it's right along the strip too. So you could probably
get a hotel room. It'd be hella expensive.
Yeah.
But share with a bunch of people and you don't have to buy tickets.
Yeah.
See the race.
Yeah. That's exactly it. So it's like, is that a good idea? I don't know. We'll see. And I think like Silverstone is kind of back on my. Did you hear that they renamed one of the straights, the Hamilton Straight?
Oh,
they did.
Yeah. I think there's only one straight at Silverstone, but that came out. But now that there's like 3 British drivers, I'm like, I feel like that one would also be a fun one because there's so many of them versus Caitlin and I when we were like recording the episode on Montreal and just the Canadian boys like. But in the UK, Silverstone, there's 3 really great drivers.
Yeah.
So I think watching that would be cool too.
Yeah. My sister just moved to London on Friday.
Well,
Friday, yeah. So her boyfriend, like his company is opening an up office there. So he moved there and she's like, when will I have this opportunity again?
Yeah.
When? And then she was home before Friday and her boyfriend texted her like, I just got offered like tickets to the F1 race next weekend, like LOL. And I was like, are you gonna go or not? He turned them down.
Why did he turn them down?
Because so they're staying in an Airbnb. They don't get their apartment until July, like the July 1st, the Friday. Like their lease rent starts in July. So look at that little cat.
I know.
So like they're moving in that weekend. And I was like, that's not even a valid excuse. Like
no, I was like,
you have that place for 3 years. You can move in on the Monday.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, oh, well, if they get tickets, like I can come next year. Like, yeah. You can open up my schedule. Because I think that one would be such a fun race. It's kind of in like Monaco in a sense that it's like historical and
yeah.
a great track. I think we need to be invited by a team like all the other F1 content creators like on TikTok.
That's definitely moving up higher on my list where I'm like,
yeah, let's put it on a vision board.
How do we do that? Because I would rather be invited to something. I saw, is it the Minhas Brewery Company? I don't know if they're like a Western Canadian one or like all over Canada, but it's like a bunch of brown people. They just like own a brewery. They're very successful, but it's a brother and sister duo that run the company and the brewery. And the sister, who also is a dragon on Dragon's Den, I think right now, she was invited by Ferrari. And I was like looking at all this. I was like, are you serious? Like she was one of their guests. She like had this fancy dinner with them. Like it was this whole thing. And I'm like, okay.
But she's also, if you're saying dragon on Dragons, then she's like next level, man.
Yeah, she's fucking brilliant. Like she's such a brilliant businesswoman. But still, I'm like, okay, there has to be ways to get invited to these things, you know?
Yeah.
We just like need to expand our networks. It's all about who you know at the end of the day. So we just need to start knowing some people who can help us get certain things.
Yeah. Do you know Sasha Exeter?
Who's that?
She's like a Toronto influencer. But I think she has like collaborations with like Joe Fresh and like she's like very, very successful. And she was invited by Peroni, who's a sponsor for Aston Martin. So she was like in the garage and went to all these dinners and stuff. And I was like, so get to 600,000 Instagram followers, maybe.
We can do that overnight, right? Like,
right? Yeah.
Easy.
Game. So
is there anything else you'd like to tell us on like spilling the tea? Any other like fun things happen? Any other dramatic things happen?
It was funny to see all the memes of Checo walking through the field, like the forest, because we saw him like walking down. Like it's so interesting to see it in person versus TV. Like it's so much more than you expect. Like when like people before I went were like, yeah, I've been, and you like it's fun, but you kind of sit there and wait for like
a car to come by.
Yeah. They were like, but like everything else is like around it is fun, like the environment's fun, and it's so true, but it's like so like it's so fun. So it's like you watch it on TV and you're like, yeah, that'd be sick, but like to see it in person and again to see how fast that Red Bull is, like making like when Max is like making those gaps and then you see him lapping people, you're like, yeah, that's a fast car, and like it sounds so good. Tea wise, I heard that Lance Stroll ignored fans and just was kind of like, yeah, that's like I'm Lance. While we were standing outside of the Ritz, someone was like, yeah, I saw Lance Stroll like crossing the street. He was like with one other person, and I didn't go up to him, but I was like, good luck this weekend. And apparently he like had just this attitude, like probably like I'm in my home race, I'm like a local celeb, like just a bad attitude. But everyone else is saying like the other drivers they met were like so polite, so happy like to be back in Canada, and like so many of the drivers speak French that I think it just like came naturally to them. Yeah, like in some of the pre-race interviews, there's like on the TV there's this thing called like track talk, and it's to keep people entertained while they're sitting there, and they're like they talk to the drivers and stuff, and it's so like funny how quick some of the drivers are. They hear like even though it's French Canadian, but like a French accent, and they'll like test the waters of, could I answer this question in French? And then they do, and you're like, every part of you melts. Oh my god. And and they just go from French to English so seamlessly. I was like, yeah, I love that. Yeah, everyone that kind of was around us was like, other drivers have been so nice, but there's some with like an ego. Yeah. And I saw this TikTok of a girl. She's like a radio host in Toronto. Went to the race and was trying to see Lewis and lined up early to go to the autographs and whatever. And apparently, if you post enough on social media, Lewis's team said, we can't promise anything, but we'll give you like 2-hour paddock passes. And like, if you see him, you see him. Great. Yep, they did. Got the pass on. I was like, social media is a crazy thing. You can get yourself on. Yeah. Yep. And
she just like tweeted him.
Yeah.
And then
posting on Instagram, posting TikToks, and like she's a host in Toronto. So a lot of listeners, I guess, were probably tagging him and his team on and stuff. So got enough attention and got a DM.
Wild.
The masses 2 hours. Yeah, I was like, I should have done that. Yeah. But another tip I just remembered is we were talking about like the paddock and stuff, and my friend and I were like, let's just get paddock passes next year. Like whatever. And they're like $7,000. But when we saw them, so we bought our tickets in like early access. Mm-hmm. So for the full 3 days, I paid just under $400, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
For 3 full days. And for our seats, like we had great seats. Again, you had like them coming off of a straight to slow down for them to pick up pace again. So you could see the cars are kind of in both forms of how fast they can go, but then how they can slow down. And in the pre-sale, like paddock passes, I think were like $1,500. So it's not cheap, but dramatically cheaper than what they were going for. And I mean, again, this could like those paddock passes could be like limited access to like you might not get to go into like the pits and stuff, but you still like get that paddock pass. That's all I want. I just want to pass. I keep saying for keepsake to like, oh, let me in, me. When you hear the like, when the drivers put their paddock pass into the gates.
Ooh, yeah.
I would like to live that moment. But yeah, my tips: sunscreen, a seat, binoculars, food, water, because a water bottle was like $6. But they did have reuse like water refill stations, which was nice to see.
So do you know when you buy your tickets, like did it tell you there would be a TV for you to watch?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when we bought them, there was a map, like a track map, and it was like grandstand A, B, C, blah, 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 blah. And then it showed where all the TVs were, and you click it, and it, like you click what grandstand you're looking at, and it gives you like a Google Maps, like you can like look around your surroundings to see.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I think next year we're going to look for grandstand 11, and that's right at the hairpin.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, the website is like pretty accessible to see like everything you need for around that area.
Ooh, very cool.
I know. It's just like, it's making me want to just never. I was complaining to Courtney, actually, Caitlin. I was like, I just hate that we need to work to live.
Yeah. It's quite the society, truly.
Yeah. I'm like, I just would love to just travel everywhere and do this instead of it. Like, I
know.
But
one day we have to manifest it.
To manifest it just like you manifested, Carlos.
I didn't. The chilies came to me.
It was a sign.
A sign?
Sign. I got you.
Yeah, it was crazy. So Yeah, that was my exciting, amazing Montreal
Time.
Grand Prix weekend. Yeah.
In Montreal, which is definitely making me think about Mexico and even going to Montreal maybe next year. Does anyone have Silverstone predictions before we hop off?
Maybe Mercedes puts on a really good showing.
Yeah. For Lewis's sake, I hope he gets another
Right.
podium.
Yeah. And I think like because it's both Lewis and George are British, so they probably really want to
Do
perform.
well.
yeah, make it like as best as they can. So anticipate a good showing from them.
Yeah. I'm like gonna assume it's gonna be in no particular order, but like a Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull.
Yeah. Do you think Charles is going to come back in the mix?
His vibes gave me good energy.
And he's got the new engine, right?
Yeah. Did you see his performance?
Yeah, it was very good.
It was
Yeah.
good.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. The one thing though, because it was hard. I was trying to post on social media in the like grandstands, and it's happened, and we had friends in other grandstands. There's like no internet connection.
Yeah, I don't doubt
And
that.
it's not like I was on Wi-Fi, but like my Bell network, like I couldn't upload anything to Instagram. I couldn't, like I was trying to send an iMessage and it wouldn't send. So that sucked. But because I was like, I'm gonna go vote for Charles for driver of the day. Couldn't. Yeah.
Things.
But I would like to see maybe Lando get a little podium. Like imagine it was Lewis, George, and Lando podium.
Oh my gosh,
That'd be something. Yeah,
They would
be
not
iconic.
sleep.
Yeah. That would be
Yeah,
iconic.
I don't know. I'm just hoping for a good showing because the last time we were in Silverstone, it was a lot of like, it was crazy last year. So this year, I'm hoping for something fun, but
Yeah.
maybe
I'm
less
kinda-
dramatic, but still interesting.
yeah, still
Yeah.
something interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's like it from us. If you aren't already, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all Get Checkered. You can shoot us an email at getcheckered@gmail.com. You can also send us DMs. I know one of our listeners asked us to collaborate with another group of content curators, and I have not responded to that, so we'll make that happen. And you can head to our website, which is getcheckered.com. There's some blog posts from Nicole there. What else? I think that's it, right? It's just Silverstone next week. Caitlin and I will be recording in person
Together.
in person. Absolutely wild for Canada Day long weekend.
Yeah. I'm going to the cottage next weekend. So
That'll be fun.
That'll be nice.
yeah. I'm gonna watch from the cottage. But last time we did that, it paused every couple minutes and we were like, no. So I might be like, what's happening?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, stay checkered, friends. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.